Welcome to section 1.7. This section is kind of long. There's lots of examples. I may skip around a little bit, but most of them are pretty good examples, so I will probably cover a lot of them. All right, this time we have decimals, which is not a problem. So we're always going to move our variables to the left, our numbers to the right. So we're going to subtract 2.9x from both sides. That one cancels out, we're left with 4. That one also cancels out, and we're left with 4. So we have 4 is equal to 4, and we have no more variables, which means, is this a true statement? Yes. So if we have a true statement, that means that our x can be any number, and we'll always get a true statement. So when this happens, there's an infinite number of solutions, and we're going to say that it's all real numbers, which is what that little r means. All right, example 2. We're going to combine like terms. So 2.9x plus 4 equals 2.9x. We have variables on both sides, so we're going to subtract 2.9x from both sides. Our variable cancels, we're left with 4. Our variable cancels out, and we're left with 0. So now we have 4 is equal to 0. Well, that's not true. And so when we get an untrue statement, then our answer is no solution. All right, this time we have variables on both sides. We can move our variable to the left. So we get negative 8y plus 14 equals negative 10. Move our constants to the right. We get negative 8y equals negative 24. Divide by negative 8. And y is 3. Number 4, we have some distributing to do. We got to get rid of those parentheses. So we'll distribute. So 2x plus 4, distribute just means multiply, plus 5x equals negative 4 minus 9x minus 10. Now I'm going to look for like terms because there's a lot of stuff going on. So on the left-hand side, I can combine my variables. And on the right-hand side, I can combine my constants. So on the left, I get 7x plus 4. And on the right, I'm going to put my variable first, so negative 9x minus 14. Now I want to get my variables to the left and my numbers to the right. And I can actually do this in the same step. So you just have to be careful. So I'm going to add 9x. And then I'm going to subtract the 4. Okay, so since I did 2 steps in one, that's why I used 2 different colors. But 7x plus 9x is 16x. Right, and then my 4 went away because I subtracted that. And then negative 9x plus 9x, that cancels out. Negative 14 minus 4 is negative 18. So I took care of both of those, moving to the left and moving to the right, all in one step. And now I can divide by 16. That is a fraction negative 9/8. Because both 16 and 18 are divisible by 2, so I just divide them both by 2 and leave the fraction there. And that negative sign can live out front, up top, or in the bottom. As long as it's there, you're good to go. All right, number 5, whenever we have a bunch of stuff being divided, it groups together, and we actually have to get rid of the division first. So we're going to multiply both sides by 2.1. So it cancels there, just goes away. So we get negative x minus 9.5. You don't multiply it in through that numerator. Okay? The point of multiplying by it is to get it to move to the other side. So now we take negative 0.5 and we times that by 2.1 and we get negative 10.5. No, sorry, negative 1.05. And then we're going to add 9.5. So negative x is equal to 8.45. Change the sign because of that negative. So x is equal to negative 8.45. So when you're working with decimals, then your answers can be in decimals. Unless it's a really long decimal, keep it. But if you're, going past maybe the 10,000ths place, like 4 past the decimal, you can probably get away with rounding it to the nearest hundredth or so. If you're dealing with fractions, answer should be in fractions. If you're dealing with whole numbers and you end up with something that would be not a whole number, use fraction form. All right, number 6, because we have a whole bunch of fractions, and fractions aren't always the most friendly things to work with, we have a trick that can clear the fractions. So to clear the fractions, you multiply by the least common denominator. When the least common denominator is the smallest number that is divisible by every single denominator. So it ends up being a number that's typically the same or bigger than the biggest denominator. So in this case, it's 18. So I'm going to multiply everything by 18 on both sides. So distribute that through. So 7 6 times 18, well, 6 goes into 18 3 times, and then 3 times 7 is 21. So that's 21y. And then when we distribute again, 3 goes into 18 6 times. 6 times 11 is 66. You can also use your calculator to help you with that. 6 goes into 18 3 times 5 is 15, so it gives us 15y. And then on the 61/18 times 18, that's just 61. Okay, and then now I'm going to move the variables to the left and the constants to the right, and again, I'm going to do it in one step. So I'm going to do my variable first, so I get it in the right place. And then I'm going to move my constant. Okay, so this gives us, it doesn't give us a negative, it gives us 6y equals, because that goes 0, negative 5. Divide by 6, and y equals, we can just leave it as a fraction, negative 5/6. All right, decimals. I think we are going to go ahead and skip number 8 because it's a little, we get the same type of skill if we're looking at number 7. Number 7, we do have to distribute first. So we get, when we multiply, negative 6.4n minus 6.72. And that is equal to negative 8.8n minus 2.56. Now let's move our variables. So 8.8n gets added. And then we're going to add the 6.72. Okay, we can use our calculator to help us. We cancel out that one. We cancel out that one. We get 2.4n. And that equals 4.16. Then we can divide by 2.4. And this time we get the repeated decimal, 1.73, and the 3 repeats. So if you put the bar, I call them hats, over the 3, then you know that that's repeating, and that gives you kind of an exact answer. Or you could round it to just 1.73, and that would be okay. All right, so again, we're going to skip number 8 and move on to number 9. Number 9, again, we have fractions. Multiply everything by the least common denominator, which is, again, bigger than most of the numbers, so it's 8. So half of 8 is 4, so that gives us 4n. A fourth of 8 is 2. And multiply the other side by 8, and we get 1. So there we got rid of our fractions. And we get 4n equaling 3. We end up with a fractional answer, but that's okay. By getting rid of the fractions earlier, it makes the majority of the math easier, and then we just have to worry about that final answer. All right, number 10. So this one is a little bit tricky to find the common denominator because it's not 3, it's not 2, it's not 6, and it's not 9. It's actually 18 because that's the smallest number that everything can go into. So 18. You could always try 9, and then if it doesn't, everything doesn't cancel out, then you know that's not big enough. So then you might want to go up by another multiple of 9 or so. So 2/3 of 18 is, well, 3 goes into 18. 6 times 2 is 12. And then half of 18 is 9. And then that would be negative 3y plus 10. Then we're going to move our variables to the left. And then our numbers to the right. So we get negative 6y equals negative 2. Divide by negative 6. and y is 1/3 because the negatives cancel out, and then 2 over 6 reduces to 1/3. All right, hopefully you're getting the hang of this. None of this should really be new other than we're working with a little bit more complicated numbers. But hopefully we've practiced equations enough that you're doing okay. If you're not, come in and get some help. Okay, this one, let's distribute, and then we'll clear the fraction. So 2 minus 3x over 10 equals 3x over 5 plus 12 over 5. So our common denominator is 10. So now we'll multiply everything by 10. So that gives us 20 minus 3x equaling 6x plus 24. Then we're going to move our variables to the left and our constants to the right. So those cancel out and we get negative 9x equals 4. Divide by the number in front of the variable, and x is negative 4/9. All right, this time we're mixing fractions and decimals, and fractions are better. So let's change that to a fraction, and we know that 0.75 is 3/4. And now we can deal with it that way. So we're going to multiply. So let's see, I'm going to leave it as eighths because we're going to end up trying to get a common denominator anyway. So that makes things just a little bit simpler. Okay, our common denominator is 8, so we're going to multiply everything by 8. So on the left, we get 2x minus 2. And on the right, we get 18x plus 12. Now we're going to subtract 18x from both sides, add the 2, so that gives us negative 16x equals 14. Divide by negative 16. And x, those are both divisible by 2. Keep the negative, so that is negative 7/8. All right, decimals, you know what, 13 is not too bad. All we would move that over, we're going to skip this one. Since this one looks a little more complicated, let's deal with it. We're going to add 6m to both sides and subtract 6.3 from both sides. Okay, so when we add those together, we get 2.66m. That cancels, and that equals negative 9.7. Then we're going to divide by 2.66. So m is, and this is one of those ones that you get a really long decimal, so we're going to round it. So 9.7 over 2.66. Yeah, you get 3.646616541. Sorry. So let's just round that to 3.65. All right, here we go. Distribute. 12x minus 4 equals negative 4 plus 12x. Move our variables, subtract 12x, move our numbers, add 4. Well, everything cancels out. We get 0 equals 0, which is a true statement. So every number works, so it's the fancy R. All right, number 16 works pretty much the same way. We're going to distribute, so we get 3x minus 3 equals 5x plus 25. Unfortunately, everything's not going to cancel out, so we'll subtract the 5x from both sides, add the 3, we get negative 2x equals 28. Divide by negative 2, and x is negative 14. Now, you don't have to do your variables and your constants in the same step if you don't want to. If you're more comfortable moving the variables, getting your answer, then moving the constants and getting your answer, please continue to do it that way. Whatever works for your mind. Okay. This one's not too bad. We're going to go ahead and skip number 17 as well. And now let's look at number 18 because we have distributing on both sides. So we don't add first, we multiply first. So 7 plus 10x plus 25 equals negative 28. And then that one's plus 28x plus 2x. So we have some combining like terms to do. So we're going to do the 7 and the 25. And we're going to do the negative 20. No, we're not. We're going to do the 28x and the 2x. I usually put my variables first. So here we would have 10x plus 32 equals 28. Nope, how about 30x? Thank you. Having a hard time keeping those x's together on that side for some reason. Now that we have that, we're going to subtract our 30x. I'll do these in 2 steps. So negative 20x plus 32 equals negative 28. So now we'll move the 32 by subtraction. Negative 28x, or sorry, negative 20x equals negative 60. Divide by negative 20, and x is 3. All right, well, good luck, and if you need some help, please let me know.